Welcome to the Filmmaker to Filmmaker podcast, the podcast where I, a filmmaker, talk to other filmmakers about their career in the film industry and learn about their latest project. My name is B. Anthony, and thank you for listening. And welcome to Filmmaker to Filmmaker. I am your host, B. Anthony, and Jenise is here.
Co-host Jenny Stocks.
No, but you did the head gesture first, like
I was thinking it was gonna move a little bit, but it kind of just maybe it's just giving stiff right now. We're just gonna let it be. It's not trying to move.
Oh, that is funny. How are you?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. I could complain, but we're not gonna complain. But how
I
are you?
I'm well. I've been telling people, as crazy as things appear to be, for whatever reason, I've just been grateful. I've just been
Amen.
in this space of like gratitude and as best as I can and without like being totally like, you know, just over the top with it. I've been trying to be hopeful and just optimistic. And protect my mental my peace and my mental health and all the things. So
That makes
um
sense.
I'm not complaining about anything.
Exactly. Because who
You
gonna
know,
listen?
who's gonna listen? And people that I love, that I know, that I grew up with, they're passing away.
Yeah,
uh and that's just a very sobering thought.
yeah.
um and so you just kind of look at things a little bit differently. um and so life is beautiful, and I'm still talking to you. um
Amen.
yeah, and so I'm good.
Yes, yes, you just got me together real quick. That's
Oh,
what that's what it's for. That's what it's a tug of war thing. So
it
now
is.
when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, you know what? We're not gonna complain about this job. Let's just be thankful that we have a job. Let's just be
We
thankful that you have
have
a job that pays the bills with a little bit of extra coin. Like let's just be grateful that everything is everything and it could be a lot
it
worse.
could be it could be a lot worse. And I always tell people things are as well as they are,
Right.
I'm just grateful for that. um I'm also grateful, um because I can officially say that I I filmed 2/3 of my short
Come on.
film. So that is uber exciting. um Now it's not on the Janice Stocks level of
No, no,
greatness,
no, 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 no. Let me
where
tell you, it's
you have
beyond.
where you have celebrities appearing in your film. It's not
No.
there.
No, no. That was a college thesis, and that doesn't even count. I just was well connected in college, and I kind of know who was going. I'm like, you got some glory on you. You going places. So yeah, so let me snatch you up right now so I can say I work with you.
I'm screaming, and that
So
you
that's what that
have.
was.
That you have.
But nevertheless, I'm so extremely very, very, very proud of you because it takes time to, well, it doesn't, well, no, it does. It takes time to actually get into that headspace of necessarily creating and producing and writing and directing. It's like step after step after step, and you just went all the way through with it. So, um, that goes off.
Well, thank you. I want to paint a very realistic picture. Um, it was a lot of stops and starts,
Hmm.
and a lot of just trying to find my rhythm again with it.
Hmm.
Um, Also, I think finding finding my identity again as a filmmaker, as a result, really, of the pandemic happening. Because when I did the last one, my empty space, that was at the beginning of 2020.
Mhm.
Then the pandemic happened. And then there was just this moment of, okay, how is this all going to work? But then also, when you started getting awards, or when I started getting awards, there was a part of me that was just like, this is all one big fluke.
Mhm.
like, like this wasn't supposed to happen. And so
Right.
then I did one more short after that, but that was specifically for a competition. But then I just kind of went through a lot of, if I'm being perfectly honest,
Mhm.
um, a lot of distractions.
I can see it. I can see it. I think we all do. But I think the main point too is that you actually press through those distractions. I think we all kind of when it can get overwhelming, we're just like, I need to regroup. So it's like a momentary we just kind of distracted for the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I know, especially 2024, photography, I really got into that. And that wasn't a distraction. That actually kept my creativity alive.
Hmm.
But that was the bulk of 2024. But even with doing that, there was just still a lot of things that I was just uh fighting through
Hmm.
psychologically, and just trying to understand what I I guess just where I was in life, and who I wanted to be, trying to understand what the pandemic and what the new norm was going to be like, calling yourself a filmmaker. You're seeing
Hmm.
all the changes happen in entertainment, and specifically with the film industry. All these weird discussions about what films are going to be in theaters, and then which ones are going to be, solely for streaming. It was just a lot of things that
Right.
I was playing into, and it put me at a stop. And so, uh, I th- I think literally at the end of it, um, you wake up out of the dream, or out of the slothfulness, and you just have to start making some decisions. And I knew that for me personally, that dream was too much a part of me, that I don't think it was time to let it go.
Speak to
So,
me.
yeah, you were so funny. Like, but no,
Speak to me.
it was just one of those things where it was just like, if I don't do it, then it's just gonna be forever wrestling in my heart. And if I do, like, get a traditional job or whatnot, I felt like I was gonna be like one of those things. Or if I settle for a traditional job, let me do it that way, because I still got to pay bills. So I still have my job, but I I just felt like that wasn't the end of the story, as far as like really pursuing this filmmaking thing.
Right.
And so, long story short, I me, I've always been writing, and I was sending you stuff, and I was just like, well, that became the thing. Like, what's going to be the next thing to make? And long story short, we got something made. So,
Right, right, right. And it may seem like it was a long time for you, but it because I came around 2000, was it 23? I
yeah,
believe it was 23 of February. So roughly around a year, going on 2 years, well, 2 years. What is February? It's February. Yeah, be 2 years here soon. So, yeah, and having conversations with you then, and then seeing your growth now, and how you are, and then those conversations that we had, and we gotta make it, we gotta
yeah,
do, and just seeing you actually just pushing through. It's been a blessing seeing it and being, in the front row seat, just being able to witness it. So I'm so excited for you. And Brian was sending y'all. Let me tell y'all something. Brian was sending scripts probably like every other day. And that was the great thing, because people think that you have to, do these 45-page scripts. But it's just like, just get it out. If you have an
yeah,
idea, you have a thought, you have sometimes, what creators, we have scenes in our head all day. So I really admire that you were just putting those scenes on paper and just like, hey, what do you think about this? Because the greatest thing about it, even if it's just 2, 3 pages, later on, more ideas come, and you can go back to those scenes and put it into a book, turn it into a movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I really those were one of the things that really, really, really say, okay, Brian doing his thing. Okay.
And you know what's funny? I think you were a godsend because I would send things and I'd be like, this is the weirdest crap that I've ever written. And to your credit, I never like felt belittled by you.
Mhm,
Or I never felt like anything was quote unquote stupid. But
mhm,
you did have those moments where you're like, I didn't understand this, or this one wasn't as good, or you may want
mhm.
to go back and work on stuff more. And so I think what I'm really grateful for with you is that I had that safe space to just share. And I've shared things with other people, but I think because their their access to filmmaking is kind of limited,
Uh-huh.
the best that they could offer is it looks good, and and I'm just like, okay. In essence, what they're saying is, Brian, I don't even know what to look for when I'm reading this. And so when you
Right.
came in and you were like, oh, okay, da 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 da, this is really good, or when are you making this one, or so that
Yeah.
that was another thing. I think between you, photography, and just like Jesus, I'm just glad that I made it to this point, and now we're at the space where I'm still processing or importing video and syncing audio up, and this week I'll be finished with color correcting, and then within the week or so I have to shoot, I think, 2 more scenes and color correct footage. I'm sorry, and actually do the edit.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then it'll be done, and then we'll
Uh-huh.
keep making more. That's the other thing too. So I'm balancing now the
Awesome.
the photography side and the filmmaking side, and then doing some things professionally um, to just make myself as marketable as possible.
What are you
Um,
editing on? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're fine. I'm editing. So that's the other weird question because, like, I'm doing Premiere right now, but I want to
Uh-huh.
use DaVinci because
I was gonna mention
I
that.
want to
That's why
use
I asked.
DaVinci just to really get into like the color grading aspect of it.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm still appreciating the interface because I've used Premiere for so long.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I'm right now, to answer your question, I'm using Premiere.
Yeah, Brian, you'll like Da Vinci because it's like the bougie part of coloring, and being that you are one of those people. Yeah, so I think that when you use Da Vinci, you're gonna be like, yeah, she know me. She know me.
I
You
can't
you're
wait.
gonna like it.
I can't wait to. I did it to do some of the videos for like our church,
Hmm.
but I used templates mainly for that. So uh, I didn't really have a chance to color correct. So with this,
Right.
the other challenge is because I'm editing this project, like, well, I edit all my own projects. I just really want to make sure that each film is a step forward. And so I don't want it to look, I want to make sure that I'm growing.
Yeah.
And so as
Yeah.
people are looking at my reel, they can say, okay, I'm seeing the progression. But um
Right.
I'm using Premiere to answer your question.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Nevertheless, I already know you're gonna kill it.
Oh, big shout out to my friend Nikki.
Mhm.
She pretty much has done the last 2 films
Shout out
that
to
I've
Nikki.
done.
What's up, Nikki?
Nikki is wonderful. Let me tell you something. Nikki has muscles. She will truck that camera upstairs, and she's
Have I seen Nikki before?
you haven't met Nikki yet, so I want to bring her on the
Okay.
podcast, so she can meet you and
Okay.
she can kind of tell stories about our process of working together. But
Okay.
she's super super talented. Like we met at DCTV,
Mhm.
and I knew then I was like, this. Well, I can't say that. She know what she doing.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I told her I was like, I'm going to work with you, and she always talks about how I inspire her or whatnot, but I'm like, no, like you're the one who keeps me like together. So um this was also the first time I worked with a real, well, I don't want to say it this way, but like I went on backstage and I grabbed actors that way.
Okay. Okay.
And
Listen,
so
you gotta do what you gotta do.
but it was very, very scary because like I didn't know these people. And so I'm like, are they gonna say yes? Are they gonna say
Mhm.
no? And then I'm so used to you reading my stuff that I forgot that I have to let other people read it. So then
Mhm.
that apprehension was like coming out like, oh God, how is this gonna work? And thankfully,
Yeah.
uh I was blessed to work with great individuals. Um I still have to cast for one more part. Um but the two actors that you see, they have the bulk of the story.
Okay.
Um so I can officially announce the title because copyright. Um Gotta secure it.
That's
The name of
right.
the film is Control Alt Delete, and I can't wait for you to see it. So
I can't wait. I
yeah.
can't wait. You gotta let us know when is the premiere, where the premiere will be. Well, you tell us where it's gonna be, then
I may let you
it
and my
sounds like
mom.
a select few. No, you can't probably invite every single body.
I'm
But
gonna
yeah.
let I'm gonna let you and my mom manage the premiere because I'm gonna.
Oh, me and mama don't play.
Oh, and she was like, when it's my cameo, because she wants to be in every film, and so I'm like, okay, I
Me and
gotta.
mom right here.
I said, well,
'Cause I said the same thing. I said even if I have to be the mail lady and I don't even have a line, in that movie, it's Don't Be a Menace to Society, and I forgot his name, the brother, one of the Wayne brothers, he pop up, he always say message. He don't got no line, but he just always just pop up. He's just there in the movie. Message every blue moon. And I just need to
Dwayne's
be that
brother.
person,
I
just
think he's like
yes.
that on the in the Living Color too. That same brother.
Oh yeah. It's just always just popping up. It's always just popping up. So yeah, I need to be that person. I don't even gotta keep popping up in the same film, but just every single one time in each film, just the cashier, the waiter. Yeah,
We'll
that
we'll make
person.
it we'll make it happen. Like I said, I'll probably need you because of the next scene that I know I definitely have to shoot. So just keep your schedule open.
Can you make me a stud? I always wanted, because with the with the movie, set it off right. Let me tell you about set it off. Queen Latifah did her thing and set it off. But I just always wanted to play a stud. Like I just always wanted to dress up like, yeah, what's up? Like
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have
Brother,
a
like
problem with that.
really take me out of my element because I don't want to, sometimes people write you in the script when they know you and they'll write like your personality type. So it's like easy. Nah, take me there.
You
I'm
want to
trying
be
to
a
get there.
stud.
I want to be a
Okay.
stud. Mhm. I want
We're
big jeans, shoes, cornrows, straight backs, at least like four cornrows. Maybe like no more than
I
eight because I don't want them to be neat. Neat. So yeah. That's, I
I
think
am
I think that's
screaming.
I could do that. That's a secret that I just let y'all know. I think the only person I ever told that to was my husband. I was like, I always wanted to play a stud. I don't
And
know why.
what did he say? What did he
He was
say?
so confused. He was like, why? I'm just like, I think it'll just take me to a higher heights when it comes to acting. Like, because usually people always give me because of where I come from and my lingo and the way I talk, they always give me these down to earth, I'm the down to earth homegirl friend, tell her like it is. Girl, you bet like stereotype type of I don't do that. That's what Taraji was saying too. After a while, Taraji was like, I don't want to play the ghetto girl no more. Give me something outside of the box. I
So
want to
you
be outside the box. Hmm.
so you do know you just named this episode yet again.
I'm coming through with the name drops. I want to
Can
be
you
a
make me
stud.
I want to be a stud is the name of this episode.
Can you write me in as a stud? Can you
Can
make
you
me
write
be a
me in as a
stud?
stud? Um that'll expand the fan base. Um okay, so as a transition, Mark, who stars in my short,
Mhm.
introduced me to our guest for this evening. And so I talked to him. Uh, I'll save the story for when he comes on, but super nice, super generous with advice. And Shelton R. Johnson is our guest for this episode. Okay, so I'm going to read his bio. After writing for fun periodically throughout most of his life, Shelton R. Johnson started taking writing seriously in 2014 after the birth of his son. However, after publishing 4 novels, including a trilogy of comedies, Johnson found that his greatest target audience preferred film over books. So in 2017, he adopted his first novel, Thankful for My Family, into a screenplay. That movie is really, really good. If you haven't checked it out, you should really check it out. Despite receiving
Good.
high praise in script reviews, he was unable to sell the screenplay. So in 2019, he decided to produce and direct the feature himself. And with over 40 reviews, it averaged a 4-star rating on Amazon before being picked up by Apple TV and Tubi. Since his debut film, Johnson has been solely focused on improving as a filmmaker. In 2020, he wrote and directed 3 short films, won the Atlanta Comedy Film Festival for Best Overall Screenplay. In 2021, Johnson started his production company, Summits Creek Studios, and directed 2 more short films. The Legend of Walking Willie was the first. It went on to receive multiple awards in New Mexico, New York, and even won the
Hmm.
2022 Black Film Festival of New Orleans for Best Short Film. He's currently touring 16 cities with his highly anticipated second feature film, Almost an Angel. It's a story about a man who lived a selfish life and is given 24 hours to show charity, empathy, and forgiveness in order to get into heaven. The screenplay for this film finished as a semi-finalist in the 2022 Screenplay Festival in Sherman Oaks, California, and quarterfinalist in the 2023 International Comedy Film Festival in Boston, Massachusetts. When asked about Almost an Angel, Johnson said, I'm excited to share this movie because it delivers a timely message about selflessness, along with being authentically funny movie that the entire family can enjoy. And I know you would like this, Miss Jenise. He is a
Yes.
proud Norfolk, Virginia native and a JMU graduate.
Hey, shout out 757! Yes, he just became a family member for real. So
Wow.
what's up, cousin?
He has a wife and spending time with his wife and children in their home in Southern Maryland. He likes reading. Look, Janice, he's a carnivore, smoking meats, fishing, and playing domino bones with his son. I don't know what domino bones is.
Oh, you don't know about Bones?
I don't. I don't know about that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. When you say you was like, why are we dropping the blocks on the table so aggressive? I can see you now.
I
I can
told you
see
I
you.
was scared of Miss Tanya and Sam when they were at the
Oh, on
church
the spades
picnic
table.
playing
Oh yeah.
spades, and yeah, I low key needed therapy, but
I'm gonna tell
and they're
Sam.
beautiful. They are beautiful, nice people, the
Yes.
sweetest persons
But
that
when
you
they
will
get on that
ever meet.
table,
That spade table has an energy with it, and you're just like scared out of the wazoo. And
it's a different.
so Yeah, no comment. Anyway, we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have Mr. Shelton R. Johnson on the podcast with us. So stay tuned.
That's it.
Okay. And we want to welcome Mr. Shelton R. Johnson to Filmmaker to Filmmaker.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here. I want the audience and I want Jenise to know the type of gentleman you are. Jenise was just talking about me making the short and how proud of me she was. And the part of the story that I left out was Mark, who's the star of the short and who's also been in 2 of your projects. He said, well, I want you to talk to someone. And I was like, well, who do you want me to talk to? We just met, literally. And so when he told me it was you and like, you know, he explained the gravity, he was talking about you pretty much the entire weekend and just how awesome you were. And I'm like, wow, that would be great to meet someone like that one day. And then he was like, here. And I was like, wait, what?
He means business.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, I'm already stressed trying to get this short done. But what you need to know about Mr. Johnson is that he immediately just started like speaking life and encouraging me as I was making the short. And he didn't know me from Adam. And for him to take the time to do that, I was just like, you don't forget filmmakers, you don't meet people like this every day.
Right.
And
I appreciate that. That's true though.
You don't. And he literally listened to all of my concerns that I had. I told him my story in a nutshell and just speaking words of affirmation and kindness and just making me feel like that I was capable to finish it. So I just want to start off by thanking you.
Oh, absolutely. You're welcome, man. Absolutely. I felt your pain. I've been in that situation before, and you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's all I can tell you. Everybody. That's the thing about you know these movie premieres. You see all these people clapping and loving your film, and then people don't know what you go through to get that thing done. You know. And
I was just sharing with Jenise with this one in particular. This is my first one in 2 years, and it was a lot. The fight really was just to believe in me again, to do it again. And I don't know if you could speak to this, but the pandemic just threw me off. And just the concerns about the industry and what filmmaking is going to look like, and you know, will we be able to go outside again, and how theaters and studios. Did any of that affect you at all? When so let
me tell you this. I was nominated for the Columbus Black Film Festival. Shout outs to them a few years back for a screenplay that I wrote, and it was during the middle of COVID. It was during the middle of COVID, and they asked this same question, and so many people got on the call and said that COVID did affect them, so you're not alone. But I could not relate. Wow. The reason why I couldn't relate is because I am very structured with my time. I care more about my time than a lot of things, and I'm very much. Every day, 4 to 6 a.m. I'm writing, 8 to 10 p.m. I'm writing or doing something in terms of marketing. So for me, even when COVID happened, I was just like, I stayed on schedule, and I had projects that I wanted to get to, and I took advantage of having that extra time. And so, you know, I'm not I know I create films and I know I create things, but I'm not really a creative type. I got into filmmaking because I enjoyed watching movies, and I would be the type of dude I'd be watching movies and I'd be like, it would have been funny if they did this, or it would have hit a little harder if they would have did this. You know what I mean? And so then that's what I got into writing and storytelling, and then by way of that, making movies.
That's amazing. And then what I appreciate in your bio, you talked about how it was a hobby at first, right?
Right.
And then eventually you kind of pivot into really pursuing this. So with you saying that you're creative and that you're kind of driven by how to make stories better, or you're just driven by the whole creative process. Talk to me about making that decision from just making it more than a hobby. Like what can you just describe what that looked like and how you combated the fear or anything that was trying to tell you, hey, don't do this?
Well, that fear had a name called my wife. And let me tell you, she was like, "You doing what?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to, I'm gonna write books. I'm gonna do this stuff. Yeah, all right, Shell, whatever." No, it was fearful. It was fearful because I never had done anything like that before. Like I said, I'm very structured, time oriented. I work a 9 to 5. I got, you know what I mean? I got all my stuff going on, and then I'm doing something completely out of the norm for anybody who ever knew me beforehand, former football player and all this stuff. And it was fearful. But I said, I know I have to get serious because people kept telling me my stuff was good and that there was a possibility for me to earn money from it. And when I started doing my research on how to get these books published, and then it's eventually how to get movies made and stuff like that, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I got to do this. And I had a conversation with my wife. I was like, listen, I'm nervous too. I'm a little fearful too. And I didn't know what I was getting into when I decided to make that decision, but I'm glad I did. The way I overcame it was just putting one step in front of the other. I made a plan and I had to deviate from that plan. It's good for me. I like seeing things written out. I made the plan. I had to deviate from it a little bit, but eventually it got me to where I wanted to go. And not only that, by my discipline of staying consistent with my writing, like I told you in the morning and at nighttime, what happened was the people around me either were no longer around me anymore, or they started seeing that I was serious about it. I always tell people that nobody will take you serious until you take yourself serious.
Wow.
That's great. That's great. Now, I would like to ask you now, far as, because I heard you say with fear, your wife. Now, I'm married to myself. I'm married as well. And
I was getting ready to say that Dennis Rodman married yourself or something. I was like,
I had to clean that up. No, I ain't married myself. Right. No. So I'm married as well. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting that you said that because, of course, they are our supporters, but at the same time, when they have seen something else, and then when we come to them with something new, like, hey, I think I'm about to jump out here and I'm about to start that and I'm about to do this, Now, when you did bring it to your wife, and you say, far as she developed that fear as well, did that kind of shy you away in any sense, or did it make you dive into it even more because you wanted to prove that I could do this, we can do this, we're gonna be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to prove that I could do this. Absolutely. And my wife is someone who she doesn't believe anything until she sees it, and that's not a fault.
Right.
That's just how her personality is. It's not.
That's just how us women are. Don't tell me. I got to see it.
I got to see it. Right. Exactly. And it, like I said, that consistency showed her my seriousness of it, and then. Money comes last. I try to tell people that, just to be blunt about it. Money comes last. You don't really see the revenue and all this stuff in the beginning. It comes in little segments and she's like, well, you paid this much for it. All you made was this. Well, just stick around. And then as she stuck around, she started seeing the checks getting a little bit bigger. Like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And that's really what it took. Was again, it just took my consistency and her seeing my consistency and my seriousness. Because if I was just laying around the house not doing anything, it should have been like, oh, that was just one of them things where he said he wanted to do something, he gave up on. You know what I mean? Like, I told you so type thing. But to answer your question, I wanted to prove it, not just to her, because I love her, and I don't have a spirit of like, oh, I'm gonna show you type deal with my wife.
Right.
But I wanted to prove it even more so to myself. It was something that I saw myself doing. I saw myself making movies for a living. I saw myself, at the time I had the conversation, I actually saw myself writing novels for a living, but then eventually it turned to me writing movies and making movies for a living. I was like, I can do this. And I, it just, and I gotta say this too, I got people who really pray for me in my corner, my mom, my wife, my son, people who really encourage me, not necessarily, but every day, like, hey, Dad, you can do this, or hey, son, you got this. It wasn't like that. It was just like, hey, we're rooting for you. Keep up the good work. Little stuff like that. People don't know how, when you're trying to pursue something, people don't realize how much of a value that is. Just hey, man, I saw what you posted the other day, man. Keep up the good work. Something little like that. You have no idea when you're pursuing something how much you can really impact that person.
Amazing. So I'm gonna jump into thankful for my family in a minute, but the first thing that I appreciated at the very beginning, inspired by true events, is how you started the film off.
Yeah.
And one question that I had was, how has your personal life shaped the way you tell stories? And I want to ask this very specifically because what I appreciated about thankful for my family was I like how you use the camera as a way to kind of say, it kind of hint at the audience that maybe this was a means of how I captured the specifics, and it made me want to see the real footage, if there's any real footage of any of the things that were in the movie. But I thought that was just very creative, a creative way to make it a little bit more authentic. With your approach with telling that story. So, how much of your personal life does influence your filmmaking?
Well, for Thankful for My Family, I'd say that movie was probably 70% true.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, that was my first book, and I wanted to turn that into a movie. I don't know if you're familiar with Blacklist or not. I wrote the script. It got a 7 out of 10 on Blacklist. Nobody wanted to pick it up, no producer, anything. So I said, I'll make it myself. And the way that I think what you're talking about is those POV shots.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So the way that I wrote it, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know what a camera was called. I didn't know about film. I didn't know nothing. Okay. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write this whole thing in POV, and I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna get this cast, and I'm gonna go around, and I'm gonna shoot it. Like a Paranormal Activity, right? I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna shoot it like that, and I knew I had a funny script, but then what happened was I went to my neighbor. My neighbor shot. He still does. He shoots wedding videos and music videos and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, man, you think you could shoot a movie?" And he was like, "I think I can." I was like, "All right, that's good enough. Let's do it." And so, because I didn't know anybody, I didn't know anything, and so he came on. He saw the script, and he was like, "Shel, we're not gonna do the whole thing in POV. We'll do some scenes POV. It'll look better. It'll have more of a big picture feel. Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, all right, cool, man." I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything, man. And I'm glad I listened. One thing I will say that's a strength of mine. I recognize other people's strengths, if that makes sense. And so I put a team around me, and right now I have a great team around me of people who are experts in what they do. And I trust them when they come to me and say, "Hey, Sheldon, I think this would be a little bit better if we did this, or we need to try this because this isn't working above." And I know a little bit about everything. I believe that's one of the factors of being a great director is you should know a little bit about everything. I know how to work sound, lighting, camera, all those things. But my sound, lighting, camera person are all better than me at what they do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And I trust them. So
awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So far as with your personal life, I wanted to ask you, far as if you could only be known for one film, what would it be and why?
A film that I made or a film that I watched?
A film that you watched.
Oh, a film that I watched? Oh.
Yes.
Oh man. I can only be known for one.
If a movie can shape your personality, what would you say?
Harlem Nights is my favorite movie.
Come on.
Harlem Nights is my favorite movie. And I gotta say this too, and I gotta mention golly, I gotta mention The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly too. That's okay. I love that too. But I gotta say this. I'll say A Rage in Harlem by Bill Duke.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
A Rage in because it's a great story. It's so well shot. He directed. I mean, he just directed a director's masterpiece. But then also he sprinkled in some comedy in there too. Right. And what a lot of people don't know is even though I write comedy, I make skits, I do a lot of comedy stuff. I'm really transitioning. My next movie will either be an action comedy or drama with a little bit of comedy sprinkled in it. I'm about to start blending genres on people to show them that listen, I'm more than just funny. I really do know the craft of screenwriting and filmmaking.
Well, and would you say? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What would you say inspired your style of writing and producing and directing?
What inspired me to get started was Ice Cube.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I like the Fridays, the Players Club and all that stuff, and that's why in the first movie it was like a hood comedy, blah blah blah. but I realized after making it, I was like, people found it funny. It was good and everything. But I'm not Ice Cube. I didn't, you know what I mean? I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Huntersville, Norfolk, like we talked about. But I'm not that dude. You know what I mean? My friends are 50-50 at this point in my life. I'm 38 years old. At this point in my life, my friends are 50-50. I live in an area that's rural. You know what I mean? When I say 50-50, I mean black, white. You can even sprinkle in. I got some, Hispanic friends and whatnot. So I don't live that hood life where I can like make the hood comedies on a consistent basis. I would say my biggest influencer after actually getting into film and studying film is two people. I would say Sergio Leone and Bill Duke, like as I mentioned earlier.
Okay, awesome.
And I like the Eddie Murphy movies too. Eddie Murphy does a great job with his movies, his earlier ones. But I say the two biggest are Bill Duke and Sergio Leone.
And to your point, I was just funny enough. I was texting with Mark, and I was sharing with him. I think comedians, they don't get enough credit for their dramatic work, right?
Yeah.
And you look at people like Robin Williams and Jamie Foxx and even Eddie Murphy. My mom watches Mr. Church all the time, and I'm trying to figure out why do you but it means something to her, and he does a good job in the movie. But to your point, I think that's amazing what you're striving for with your next project, just to show that just because I'm funny doesn't mean that I can't do other things,
Right.
So that's a big
and it's stuff that it's some, these movies have a message that I really want to tell through the media of filmmaking. So and I've told some messages through comedies like this one. We'll talk about my new one, Almost an Angel, but I think some of these stories are just like, I can't wait for people to see them. It's going to really, it'll be very impactful. Yeah.
So then another question that I have with you describing your approach with putting Thankful for My Family together, I'm just curious, when you're making the film and things go wrong, how do you pivot? Because I'm always fascinated with that. I think about Steven Spielberg and Jaws. And if you look at the history of how that movie was made, there were so many things that went wrong with that shark, including keeping the shark together, the mechanical shark. And so the way that he pivoted and how he was still able to show the presence of the shark, even though the thing wasn't working, that made me even more excited about the process of filmmaking. So what are some of your pivot points?
Oh man, I got so many to name. In Thankful for My Family, I almost walked off set.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was frustrated because all I knew was I was paying these people all this money and I didn't know what was going on. Like, I really did, because I didn't know nothing about film. I can't emphasize that enough. I didn't know anything. And so I just was like, I think that looks good. Point the camera that way. I didn't know. I had no idea, man. I didn't go to film school or anything. I was just somebody who watched a lot of movies.
It didn't look that way. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I was just like, when I was watching it, I was like, from the car, how you shot the car scene when they're in the car talking to each other, to the fight scenes and
that was interesting.
I was just like, this is pretty solid. And I was like, he must have hired whomever to get this right, but you're really encouraging me even more now.
Thanks, I appreciate it. That was one thing. A second thing, I say the second, I'm ranking them from third to first because it's been a lot of stuff. We had on Almost an Angel, the guy who was supposed to be playing God caught the flu, which was Mark. It was Mark. Mark caught the flu 2 days before shooting and had to be rushed to the emergency room.
Wow.
And so we weren't able to cast anybody, and they had to be able to fit a size medium costume. And so what we did was we were just like, all right, you know what? We looked around set, and it was actually my friend Boogie who came up with the idea. It was like, listen, the cameraman, he's gonna have to learn the lines and do it. Same thing happened with almost a short film that I was in, that I did, Legend Walking Willie. The man who was playing Walking Willie, he lived an hour away. We had this location for only 45 minutes. We called him like, where's he at? He was asleep at home and forgot that it was the day to shoot. So we had to use the light gaffer. I sent him to the thrift store with $20. I said, hey man, go get some clothes, try your best to look like the character. And then when you get back, I want you to read the script 2 times. Don't worry about going line for line. He was in a scene with a comedian who could ad lib. and we made it work. And that film is what made me win the Black Film Festival of New Orleans, up the Twin Tiers, up in New York and New Mexico. But the biggest one dealt with Mark himself. He hired me to direct a short film that he made called Death's Door. And at 3 a.m., we were in this Airbnb where some of the scenes were shot, but where all the crew was supposed to be staying. He comes 3 a.m. He comes knocking on my door. Shelton, man, we got a problem. I said, what's going on, man? Can't be that big of a deal. Well, we'll see. The camera, the whole camera crew, the sound guy, the light guy, the camera guy, with all the equipment, everything, they canceled. They backed out. They don't want to do the movie anymore. I said, what? Now he has actors flying in from New York, flying up from Atlanta, coming in we were in North Carolina shooting in Raleigh, his hometown. And he was like, we were sitting there, me, him, our friends Boogie and Ian, who also been in my projects. They were like, hey man, we just go ahead to use our phones. And I said, no. I said, no, dude. If you have these actors flying in from New York and Atlanta and you pull out a phone, you're going to lose all credibility, man. I was like, so I said, listen, this is a major city. You got to have a film house somewhere. And he was like, well, I think we do. So I pulled up Google. I saw where they did have a film house where you could rent equipment. So I went up to the film house with him. He paid the money to rent the equipment. We got back on set. I taught the actors how to work the equipment. And then I started working lead camera. And I was so upset because I had all my director's equipment and everything, but I didn't get to use it because I had to work lead camera and I had to make sure that the actors were using the lighting the right way and the sound the right way. And but it ended up working out. We ended up making it. So I'm used to. I think they always say by definition, a director's job is to make sure that the audience can watch the story without distraction. Mm-hmm. However, I also feel like it's in the director's job to be able to problem solve. Yeah. You got to know the story forward and backward and know what would work and won't work and be able to make decisions and be confident in your decisions because you got a lot of eyes watching you and people depending on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good that you mentioned that. Far as what to do, what not to do. As far as you learning, I mean, because we learn from our mistakes, and right. As you learn how to pivot, you learn how to work well under pressure. Because you could have very much been like, listen, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna have to send them back, apologize, and which would have been unprofessional. They probably would have never worked again, but they probably had a lot more respect for you being that you did what you did. So what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see new filmmakers making?
Dialogue.
Now that you dialogue. What about the dialogue?
What about it?
Let me tell you. The best way I can describe it is this. Mm-hmm. There's a movie called Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. In that movie, in my opinion, is the greatest line of dialogue that's ever been written in the history of cinema. Mm-hmm. He's a prisoner who's going to Alcatraz, whatever. He comes in on the boat because everybody know Alcatraz is an island, a prison on the island. He comes in, he meets with the warden. The warden looks at his file, and he says, "Oh my gosh, you've been in and out of juvenile detention. You've been locked up 7-8 times. You've gone to psychiatric centers and blah 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 blah." He going down all the bad stuff that Clint Eastwood has done, and then he says, "My goodness, what type of childhood did you have?" And he looks up at Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood says, "A short one." That is great dialogue because it tells you everything that you need to know in one line, and it solves all your questions about his background. That was great dialogue. What a lot of times new filmmakers they focus so much on. This is how you know a new filmmaker because they use words like, "Well, that's not realistic. That's not realistic." Cinema is not realistic. It's not realistic. What it is punchy. It's engaging. It keeps the audience's attention. What I tell any filmmaker, the easiest thing to do in cinema is lose your audience's attention.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is regain their attention.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that your scenes are moving. You want to make sure that your dialogue is moving. In this conversation, we can mumble on and ramble on and do things. That's not how a movie should work. You lose people's attention that way. Yeah.
So want to move to your projects, because I'm just excited to talk about Thankful for My Family, because I have questions. And it's very rarely that I get to actually talk to the filmmaker from certain parts that I'm just like, what inspired that? Number one, what inspired the baby daddy dance?
That's just me being comedic, man. I thought about that late. Normally, most of my jokes are crazy. I told you I write in the morning and at night. Most of the funny stuff comes at night when I'm half asleep, and I just write it down on paper. I be like, let me just write this so I can go to bed, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, that was pretty funny. I'm gonna keep that. That's what happened with the baby daddy dance. I was actually up at I do remember the night I wrote it. I was up at 10:30, and I actually did the dance while writing it because I was like, what? I was like, wow. I said, when I get to this table read, the actors are gonna want to know what I mean by that. And so I started working on the dance or whatever. And I laugh, man. I be laughing in my office when I'm writing, man. I enjoy it. I really do. Writing, I don't know which. I always get asked which one I like to do most, writing or directing. I don't know because I love writing, man, because I'm by myself and I just get to flow with my goofy thoughts. But directing is like I get to see it all played out and hear people's interpretations of it and get feedback. So I don't know which one I like the most, honestly.
Oh man, that made me smile. Number two, the rap scene. Who was that about? Who inspired it? I know you probably can't tell me who inspired it, but
I can tell you. He's passed away now.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, now I feel horrible.
He's a cousin of mine. He was married to my cousin.
Okay.
And he was from Chicago. I'm not gonna mention his name, but he I never forget the first time he met our family. He told us he was from Chicago, and he told us that he used to rap. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Nobody cared at all, but he felt like he just needed to say a rap. And honestly, in real life, his rap wasn't that bad. Okay. But when I'm writing this movie, I'm like, oh, I'm about to make this thing funny. So that's what inspired it. That actually, he wasn't a bad rapper in person, but I did make him funny in the movie.
The other thing that I like, and if I'm getting too excited, just be like, Brian, Jenise, tell me, Brian, pull it back.
Get excited. Get excited.
The actor who played the father, he just stood out to me. How did you find him? Because there was just a way that he executed that role that just all the actors did a great job. Let me put that out there. But with the father, I was like, who is he? How did you find him? And what inspired that performance? From him, from the way he talked to him, how he laid on that couch and not getting involved with any fights. What inspired that?
That was inspired by my dad. My dad doesn't stutter, but he has like a little mumble when he talks, and again, just making it more exaggerated for the comedic purpose. But the way I found him was when I did my casting call, I split it up between 757 comedians and 757 actors. I wanted to have some real comedians in there because I was so worried. Again, I didn't know anything. I was so worried that regular people wouldn't catch the jokes. You know what I mean? I wanted somebody in there who really understood jokes and how the punchlines and how it needs to be delivered and whatnot. He was one of the comedians named David Katash. He was one of the comedians who showed up, and he obviously auditioned well. And then he when he showed up, he looked really young. I was like, oh, we can make you look a little older. And then once I saw him in the work uniform and whatnot, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, that's it.
Well done, and well done. Now, the aunt, I know so many. I was just listening to her, and I'm like, oh my God, there's really one in every part of the United States of America, because I know her so well. And chef's kiss. How did you capture that just so well? Because I was.
Let me tell you, she is one of the sweetest people you ever meet. Her name is Kimberly Tucker. She is a comedian too. She was one of the comedians too. And I never forget, we were at the table read. She said, she said, Shelton, how do you want me to deliver these lines? I said, I want you to say it the way that would come natural to you. Just say it with it. I said, if I don't like it, I'll tell you. But if I'm quiet, you're doing good. And I didn't have to say a word. She nailed it. And I was like, okay. And then even at the movie premiere, we sold out Narrow Theater, 530 people. The last person to do that was Tom Hanks with Captain Phillips. When we sold out that thing and all the cast got on stage and everybody gave a round of applause, the first person that everybody wanted to ask a question was her. And she, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I don't like her." When she was coming out the theater, she heard people mumbling, "I don't like her. I don't like her." And she turned around and she was like, because even though she's a sweet person, she does have a mouth on her nail. She was like, she was like, "It was an acting job. It was acting." And then she looked at me and she said, "Shelton, you got all these people hating me." I was like, "That's because you did a great job. That character was supposed to be hated, and you did a great job. It's just like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django. Everybody hates him for that role, but he did a phenomenal job."
Him and Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 more parts that I just like your movie. So I'm gonna put a cap on it because I'll talk about it forever.
So I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know who your audience is yet because I got to go back and watch all the episodes and everything. But I'm gonna tell you something. When I always know with this movie, it's always us. You know what I'm saying? It's always us. Whenever I try to tell other people about this, I'm gonna say other people. Whenever I tell other people about this movie, they're like, "Oh, I watched the first 5 minutes of it."
No.
This movie ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody.
As soon as you got on the screen and started talking about the baby mamas and I said, okay, it's going to be that type of ride. And like Jenise will tell you, I'm bougie. And so she gets on me about my movie choices. This beginning to end, I am hollering. Like I'm just having a good time with it. Okay, so the other funny thing, and then we're gonna talk about the new movie. I have 2 more questions because you're gonna get an Oscar or something. I don't know, and I want to take advantage of this moment.
Oh, I hope. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Right.
You do too.
Amen. The scene where Mark is taking the luggage out of the trunk, out of nowhere he finds a Bible. Yeah. How? Let
me tell you something. That's the beauty of working with funny people. Mark, I'm gonna say this one thing about Mark. Mark was a huge surprise. I knew Mark was funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was that funny.
Yeah.
I got Mark I found Mark on Instagram. I was following him when he had maybe 300 followers. He didn't have a lot of followers, but I just was like, man, this dude is funny. Like he is funny, and he was being consistent with the posting of the skits and stuff. And I was like, man, I'm gonna reach out to him and see if I can get him in this movie. And because he looked the part too that I wanted. So he got it. I reached out to him. He was like, yeah, he down. He wanted to do it. That part in the script, all it said was go grab the luggage.
Yeah.
That's all it said. That was 100% Mark. All that physical comedy. That was all Mark's comedic genius. That was all him. And me and Mark and I, we have in-depth conversations about comedy. I mean, because I write it, he writes it. I do skits, he does skits. Like him and I, we go back and forth on like, that's not a good joke. Here's how you make it better. This is what you do. Blah, blah, blah. And but that was just all his comedic genius. And when I saw it, here's the crazy part. I didn't even see it on set. We filmed that on the last day of shooting. And when I tell you I was so frustrated and dog tired, I was in the house getting something to drink. And I let my AD, I was like, hey, you got this scene. It's just him going to get some stuff from the trunk. I came back outside and everybody was dying laughing. And I was like, what happened? So I asked my camera guy to play it back, and I'm dying. I'm laughing. So I was like, oh, we getting that in the movie. The editor, he was like, oh no, man, it's gonna make the movie kind of long. I was like, put it in there. We put that in there. Like, certain stuff, I'm like, nah. You got to put that in there.
And the last question is really a connection point. The film that one of my first shorts, My Empty Space, was inspired by my grandmother. And she passed in 2019, and that's what inspired me to make my short. I was like, let me just make a movie to deal with whatever I'm feeling. And so watching the grandmother in the movie, she had me on the floor, sending them people to the store, getting numbers, talking about how she killed her husband, still in the ring. But there was a wealth of wisdom that she offered throughout the film, and just an awareness. And it's more of a compliment, but I want to thank you for really celebrating that part of Black culture.
Thank you.
And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize how vital seeing grandparents or people in the senior community just captured on screen, especially from the Black community. But what I appreciate about what you did, it wasn't like corny, but there was just an authenticity that you captured with her performance.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
that was just a major connection point from me for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak about the performance beyond that. I saw the tribute at the end, but
Right.
I just wanted to thank you for
Well,
that because again, it reminded me of my grandmother as I was watching it. So thank you for
thank you.
including that.
Thank you. Yeah, I will add my grandmother on my mother's side of the family. She was the patriarch because there was no man in the picture on her side of the family. The all the men that I know and were examples all came from my father's side of the family. So my mother's side of the family, she was a patriarch. You know, she was a single mother of 4 children. My mom being one of them, and she held it down, and she made sure that we understood how to have a relationship with Christ, and made sure that we read the Word, and she made us watch Reading Rainbow and all that stuff. Babysat us when my mama had to work 2-3 shifts and my dad was working. So you know, she was a great, you know, she poured so much into us, even though she didn't have a whole lot of money. She poured a whole lot of knowledge and wisdom and spirit in us, you know. And that tribute at the end. So one of the reasons that gave me the courage to want to make this, and really lit me up to make the movie, was she had recently died, and she always wanted me, my brother, and my cousin to do something together. My brother is like a rapper, and he's one of the type of people, he knows everybody. I have a cousin who's a producer. He's produced music for major stars. I'm talking like the big stars, Lil Wayne, all the Missy Elliott, all them. And then you got me, who's the writer, the filmmaker, whatever, right? And we've never come together and done anything. And she, growing up when she babysat us, all of us was there. All of us was running around their house or their apartment. And she would say, "Y'all, why don't y'all work on something together?" And then we come together and like, all right, we make something. So then now we grown men, and I'm like, "Yo, we need to come together and make this thing." And I couldn't get my cousin to make any of the beats. My brother helped me with getting some of the locations and stuff or whatever, but he didn't put down any music, any raps or anything, because they didn't have any beats for my cousin. So I still never worked with them on that, you know what I mean? But that's something that excited me about doing it, because I was like, we can make this a tribute to grandma and finally have her wish of all of us coming together on something. But it didn't. We weren't able to make that happen. So
Wow.
yeah.
Finally, you have a project that you're currently touring, Almost an Angel.
Right.
I'm coming to the February 16th show in Norfolk. Mark told me, he said that's the one that if you're going to go, get the tickets early. So I was not playing.
Yeah.
He said that I guess you and Jenise can attest to this, that they show out and they show up, and so I didn't want to get left out because I wanted to see it. I love seeing things on the big screen. So tell me about the new movie and then the remaining dates on the tour.
Right. So so I'll tell you about the new movie first. It's called Almost an Angel. This film was a semi-finalist at the Screenplay Festival in LA and a quarterfinalist at the International Comedy Film Festival in Canada. Again, I just tell people, you're going to see so much growth with this film in terms of me as a screenwriter and as a filmmaker. It still delivers the jokes, but it also brings a message of selflessness. It's a story about a man who lived a selfish life, and he's given 24 hours to show charity, empathy, and forgiveness in order to get into heaven, or else he have to live the rest of eternity as a ghost. The cast is amazing. I actually did the casting for this movie as well. And very, very, I mean, just every actor is a professional actor. Every actor just delivers and hits home runs in their performance. Every showing we've done so far on this tour, I've got nothing but praise about how it resonates with people. Not only the humor, but how it resonates with people, and they left feeling better than when they came. And I'm really grateful to have made a film that impacts people in a positive way and delivers on the humor. That I can say nothing more. So far as the tour goes, we're 10 cities down. We have 6 to go. This weekend we have Chicago and Ohio. Next weekend is Kansas City and St. Louis. And then last weekend, like you said, February 14th, we have Valentine's Day, Charlotte. And then February 16th, the grand finale, that Sunday night in Norfolk, Virginia. Yes, you're 100% right. Buy those tickets. Those tickets are selling the fastest of any other location. Not surprised. Hometown always shows out, and I appreciate them for it. I love them for it. I told them I was coming back. I'm so grateful to be able to keep my word and come back. Can't wait. I can't wait for Norfolk. It's gonna be a fun night. Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I'm gonna
That's
tee
awesome.
up. I'm gonna tee up a question for Jenise, but she's gonna take it from me
Okay.
as soon as I tee it up for her. You're a man of faith.
Yes.
We're people of faith, and someone on here is like a faith-based filmmaker, but she infuses faith in her content. So I'm sure one question that she may have is what advice do you have for people navigating this thing called filmmaking, but also creatively infusing their faith? And you even did it very creatively in Thankful for My Family, where it didn't feel preachy, but I think the message that you were suggesting was just executed very well. So I don't know if you want to add on to that, Jenise, but I couldn't let it pass without.
No, I think you added that. I think you asked that question quite well. Because me as a filmmaker, where I am right now is because unfortunately with COVID, I got stuck through COVID, and after COVID, I got married, and after marriage, I had a baby, and then so filmmaking life was just happening and happening back to back,
Mhm.
and trying to figure out. How do I balance all of this but still go after my dream, since it's so much to balance? Something gets neglected. And
Right.
then what typically got neglected was the dream. So while following the dream, and still now I'm noticing, because now my faith has gotten stronger. Because I was
Yeah.
out there, I'm from around the way, so I was out there. So
Right.
what I used to write was what I used to write. Now I'm noticing that my writing style has changed, but I'm like, how can I be creative but not be, still be true to self, and reach the people that I'm supposed to reach, but not be so cheesy? Because sometimes Christian film we used to call it like, this is a little cheesy, it's kind of
Mhm.
whack.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice for that?
Well, it's what I said in Michigan after we had a Q&A, and the guy asked me the same thing, similar. And I said, it's not a problem, but what we see oftentimes in these Christian movies, what makes them feel cheesy is the fact that they're always shot in the same location, church. They're, always shot in church. Or, you always got a pastor who's like, come on, let me walk with you. Let me do, or you got the one where they got a scripture in every scene. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, I think if you focus on the relationship that people have with Christ, and focus on telling a story that interprets what you've read in the Bible, you see what I'm saying? Those, I believe, then you can come up with authentic stories that people haven't seen before, and they won't be cheesy. They'll be, you can make them relatable for people. You can tell some really great character-driven stories in that manner. Even with my skits, every Sunday, before I started this tour, I was every day I was posting a skit, but every Sunday I would always make it Christian-based. And if you go back on my page, directed by SRJ, you can see every Sunday I posted something that was a Christian-based comedic skit. And what I always said was, and sometimes I do deal with pastors, but I was always like, I don't want to deal with pastors, because so many comedians, as soon as you start talking about church jokes, the first thing you want to jump on is the pastor, right? It's because that's an easy target, right? You can joke, you can make cracks on the pastor, but no, I'm gonna make it relatable. I might tell a skit from the pastor's perspective about the congregation, or I might tell a skit about, when you're trying to be saved, how God. I made a skit called "How God Talks to Me" when I'm walking down the street, and then it's a woman from the front. You see, she got nice hips and nice body and everything, and God is talking to me like, "Boy, don't you turn around? Don't you turn around? You better not turn around." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can see the humor in it, because that's a real struggle of Christian men. You know what I mean? So, because we're still a man, even when you become a Christian, you don't stop being a man.
Right.
So, it's things of that nature. If I were you, I would focus on those things. And then as life is happening, one thing I learned, because life happened to me too, focus on getting stronger at what you can. So when I started this thing, I didn't have a whole lot of time. Whenever I don't have time, what I do is I'll keep a little notebook in my car, and I'll write down ideas, or I'll write down a little, if I can't get to my computer to type, I'll write some notes. Just every day though, whatever you can write, do it. If you don't have time to write, if you gotta, I don't know, storyboard something or whatever it is you got to do, whatever, because all of that is considered progress, so I would just say, don't stop for life happening, adjust to life happening. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of
Perfect.
sense.
Yeah.
Well said, sir. Thank you so much. I want to give you space to let people know how to get in, to follow you, or whatever you want to share about how people can connect with you. Just want to give you room.
Well, okay, thank you. First and foremost, you can connect with me by coming on my tour and buying some tickets, directed by srj.com. You can see all the tickets up there. They're available. I don't think I think Charlotte might be close to being sold out, but I think everyone else, I know Norfolk is going fast, but I don't know if we're close to sold out yet. But, buy your tickets, come support the tour. You're going to enjoy the movie. I guarantee you that. It's funny, it resonates, like I said earlier. But I also want to say you can follow me on social media, directed by SRJ. I will be continuing to post skits once the tour is over. But what a lot of people don't know, and I think this will be my first time sharing it with the public, this year I'm going to switch because I'm noticing when I go out, when I'm posting this stuff about the tour, people are thinking that I'm showing up and doing stand-up comedy because I do skits. I don't do stand-up comedy. I don't know. I've done it 3 times before, but I'm not a stand-up comedian. I didn't have the crowd rolling laughing by my stand-up. But what I excuse me, what I am going to do is I'm going to switch over to posting short films. So once a week I will be posting a short film on my page. Because when I go on tour again, I want people to see, wait a minute, I've seen some of his short stuff. Now he's making a bigger project. I want to go and see it. So there would be a direct correlation. So just if you're gonna follow me, stay tuned. I'm working, and you'll be seeing more frequent work of mine from in the form of short films. But other than that, just I appreciate this opportunity. This is a very, very well done podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming on. And again, I'm going to fanboy just a little bit. Here are my tickets. So
yes,
I don't want the people to think that I'm just saying it just to sound good. I'm excited to support you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for coming on our podcast. Thank you for encouraging us as filmmakers.
Yes, thank you.
And we appreciate you.
Absolutely. So, can I say one thing to y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Get out there and network. When you go to these film festivals, get out there and network. And this is not just to y'all, any filmmaker watching this. Get out there and network. Don't just go to the film festival looking to show off your film and looking for compliments on your film. Watch other people's films. See what you like about it, what you dislike about it. When you meet the filmmaker, be honest with them. Like, listen, hey, this is what I like about your film. But you want to know what I think you could improve. You want to know some areas where I think you should work on, or something. Say it in a nice way that, I personally love being critiqued. Some people don't like it. That's why I always offer the question. Hey man, I saw something that that might be a little help if you're interested in knowing. If not, I'll just keep my mouth shut. And most of the time, people will if they're serious about the craft, they want to learn it. There's Christian film festivals. There are people who will appreciate your work. There really is. There is a market for you. We're in a business where we're not only in a business, but we're in a day and time where you have to build your audience. So don't be afraid of posting. Don't be afraid of communicating what you're getting out there. The key is consistency. You can work. I know a lot of people who can work real hard for a short amount of time, but it's very few people who can work hard for an extended amount of time. Okay. When I say work hard, I mean, work hard. People work hard all day. Like, I had a hard day at work today, work 12 hours. But can you work hard for 8 hours every day? You see what I'm saying? And that's when you see the growth. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Awesome.
And that's the best way ever to end the show. I'm just going to say thank you. I'm going to chew on that, marinate on it, and apply it. Not only just hear it, but do it. So, thank you so much for just for all of this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Thank you. It was nice meeting you, Janice.
Nice meeting
And
you
hopefully you can
too.
make it. Yeah, hopefully you can make it down to the 757 for the premiere.
Yeah, I need to. He invited me, and I told him that was Valentine's Day weekend. I had already had some plans for my
She
husband.
Yeah.
read me for Phil. She said, "Now, Brian, you know that is Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
happily single, so like that was the furthest thing from my mind." And so when she said it, I was like, "Oh yeah, yay!" So that's the
Yeah,
only
I'm
reason
killing, man. I'm telling you, I'm killing people with this being Valentine's Day weekend, man. It's like in the 757, it's cool because it's like, oh, they already down there. But it's a lot of people who are like, hey, man, I would come from out of town, but it's Valentine's Day weekend. You know, it's
But no, I'm
that's
gonna see. Because that may be a little that might. I'm gonna try to make it because now I'm really, really intrigued. So I'm gonna try my best.
all right. Well, if you can, I'd love to meet you in person, and I'm looking forward to meeting you too, Brian. It's gonna be a good time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Filmmaker to Filmmaker podcast. For more information, you can visit our Instagram at Filmmaker to Filmmaker. See you next time.